Welcome to another episode of Design Your Life. As always, I'm your host, Jim Mantler, and I'm very excited to welcome our guest today, wellness professional, writer, and creator, Jen Merritt Marshall. Jen, welcome to the Design Your Life podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself to our guests?
Sure. I am a business owner. My business is named Jen Merritt Live Life Happy. I'm also a fitness instructor. I teach many fitness classes, and new title is a writer, which I'm super excited about. And yeah.
Awesome. So let's discuss that writer. So you have a new book coming out that you collaborated on.
Mhm.
What's the book called?
The book is called, I have it right here actually. It's called Seeking Alignment. So I collaborated with, there's 17 other women across Canada. And we were given the task, I guess, of writing about a challenge that we've faced and how we overcame it. So it is sort of in, I'm going to say that woo woo realm. So like the
Yep.
transformation of through, um, so it's true stories from Canadian light workers and healers.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm very,
So
very excited about it.
what do you mean by woo woo realm?
So, woo woo, I'm going to say like the magical realm or the realm where people talk about Reiki and could be source, could be God, could be the universe, whatever it is. A
Okay.
lot of times that sort of becomes sort of a little umbrella of the woo woo.
Gotcha. So it obviously when's the book coming out?
So it launches this Wednesday on November 19th on Amazon.
Excellent. So it's great timing. He's obviously, we have the podcast here called Design Your Life. The book's called Seeking Alignment. What does for you, like what does Design Your Life or what does Seeking Alignment mean to you personally?
To me personally, it means finding your authentic self and your authentic voice and stepping into those. Even I'm going to say they can be kind of challenging,
Mhm.
but I think by doing it step by step, you find a little bit of courage to do it and do it a little bit more. Alignment also to me means just being, because I do this sometimes in a meditation. So just being in alignment with everything within myself and feeling grounded, but also connected.
Okay. And what does feeling grounded mean? Like how do you help yourself feel grounded?
There's a number of different ways. I do tend to be sort of like a anxiousy kind of person, so grounding is very important for me. But I do it in a number of different ways. A lot of ways for me personally is I love movement. So
Mhm.
I do find grounding through the fitness classes that I teach, through meditation, um, going for walks outside. It's to me, it's just a feeling of ease.
Okay. Now, obviously you mentioned that seeking alignment is kind of living authentically for yourself.
Mhm.
For a lot of people out there listening, or a lot of us, we struggle to understand or to realize what is authentic for us. I believe that's some people's biggest struggle is not understanding who their authentic self is, because we live so many years with, we'll call it a mask or a persona or, whatever the case, trying to be somebody to fit in or stuff like that. What helped you learn who your authentic self was? What steps did you take or how did you realize it? Was there
Well,
a life event that kind of helped shape that?
well, to be honest, I think it is still a journey. Like
Mhm.
I feel like there's still aspects of her, my authentic self that I'm still looking for and still, uh, integrating once I find them. Um, but I think I would say, and I do talk about this in my chapter in the book as well, is perhaps maybe going through like a really, I'm not going to say traumatic, but a very like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a really large event in your life,
Mhm.
you
Okay.
know, that it kind of, it does shift things for you. Um, and for me personally, one of the bigger, uh, stressors, I guess, was I went through a divorce and it was a big shift for me. Um, and I think, you know, like there was little aspects of myself that were sort of peeking in like my 20s. And then there was kind of a shift in, um, I'm going to say like you kind of need to be professional. Like you need to get this job and you need to do this and you need to do this. And, you know, like sort of being that perfect person in society sort of thing, right?
Right.
Sort of what society would look as being, you know, a perfect person or whatever. And I feel like through going through like the divorce, it was, I guess I saw it as an opportunity that it's like, I need to find me. But even
Mhm.
before that, actually, I remember there was a moment of, I guess my daughter was about 5 at the time, and I remember having a conversation with somebody saying, like, "I don't know, like, who I am outside of being, like, a wife and a mother
Right.
and an employee and whatever." Like, I didn't know who I was, like so I think the going through the divorce just sort of cracked that open where it was like,
Mhm.
this is an opportunity now that I can actually find out who she is and what it is that I like and what I don't like. And, you know, so it's definitely like that was 10 years ago now, but
Right.
it's still a journey. And I think we journey into finding ourselves like our whole lives, I think. I don't know if we ever really we can definitely come into this really great alignment, but I think there's always opportunity to deepen and find more.
Do you think, for, let's say, for people today, women or men, that are kind of in that area of life, like looking back on it in retrospect,
Mhm.
and for people that are kind of living the life now where they don't know who they are, but they're still maybe attached to a relationship or to a persona such as a mother or an employee or stuff like that. Looking back on it, for people that may not have had that major life event, do you think that anything you would have done different could have changed or could
Mm.
have allowed you to kind of find yourself authentically without the event happening?
I
Because
guess
I often ask myself that. But,
that's a good question. I'm not really sure because I feel
Mhm.
like in a certain way, I was just sort of following that trajectory. And
Right.
then when that trajectory changed, that's what sort of opened up for me to question things,
Hmm.
I guess, right? So,
Yep.
um, but I think like one of the biggest things that helped me was I really learned it or leaned into journaling.
Hmm.
That became like just I journaled every night, like just pages and pages and pages, and whether it
Right.
was venting or wishing or whatever it was or praying, like there, I just wrote everything, and um, that was probably the first step that I took that really helped.
Okay. And journaling happened afterwards, or is this something you did prior as well? Or
I've always journaled since I
Mhm.
was little, like, and I have some journals from when I was even in elementary school. And, I wouldn't say I did a whole lot during my 20s. So in my 30s, so which is like 10 years ago now, is when I really leaned into it more, and did it almost every single day.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you ever go back and read the
I do.
younger you journal?
I do. I do, and they're
Uh,
hilarious.
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
there, and I'm just curious,
yeah.
like, is there any connections to what you're doing now to what you wrote when you were younger and didn't have, we'll say, as many faces or personas that you would have kind of worn over time?
I don't know, like, it's it's really cool to see or read the evolution.
Hmm.
You know, like I can look back and see things that I can see like red flags. You know
Okay.
what I
Yeah.
mean? I can kind of go back into that moment and witness it as really as my younger self, you know, like it's not I can see the difference that, you know, I was that person, but I'm no longer that person anymore,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. I wonder how much fear of changing. I'm curious why, as a society, a lot of us are afraid of that change for ourselves.
Um, I think there's and this just speaking personally is there is for me sometimes a fear of judgment.
Hmm. Okay.
Because we kind of have, and I'm gonna say in quotes what you know, society I guess would say is normal or whatever. And um it I it's definitely fear of judgment because and this goes back, you know, centuries. If we expressed ourselves a certain way, you know, you know, we want to bring up, you know, the whole witch trials and whatever, right? Like if we
Yep.
expressed ourselves a certain way, we were crazy or we were a witch or and that's for men and women. You know what I mean? Like if something was uh considered odd by the community, then, you know, like it's so I think there is still I feel like we're moving away from that for sure. I feel more people are speaking their truth and more people are
Hmm.
sharing even when it's scary. But it's I think there's still sort of this underlying fear of just judgment and being maybe shunned or called crazy or, you know?
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. And obviously we're our own worst enemies because I believe we judge ourselves
Absolutely.
more than anything. And that kind of leads to more judgment.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much we can actually learn by, learning to stop judging ourselves and just being, I mean, we talked about it on many episodes and, in terms of just being self-accepting, right?
Yeah.
Do you, well, let me ask you this, like, do you feel like you were judgmental to other people kind of throughout your life?
Yeah, for sure. I would
Yeah.
say so. Yeah. And I think there's kind of an aspect of, um, I don't want to say it's just a part of growing up, but I think
Hmm.
there's a part of when you're growing up that um, you judge yourself against other people. So
Right.
I see it like with as like my teenagers were growing up, like they reached a certain age, I'm going to say around 10ish when everything wasn't totally like their little world wasn't like this super fun place. Like they were able to witness things outside of themselves. You know, like everything when they're little, it's all just fun and, you know, they don't really notice too much what's going on. Like they pick up on stuff, but not,
Hmm.
you know,
Yep.
and then they reached about like say 10ish or so and they could really like see things and they're like, oh, like why is that happening over there? And why would this person say that? And look at what
Right.
they're wearing and what am I wearing? And like everything kind of became like, how do I fit in? With that. So I think um judging others kind of becomes maybe like a crutch to
Hmm.
judging yourself. Like you
Right. Right.
don't um yeah, I don't it's kind of like if you're judging others, you're kind of judging yourself first, but you're trying to project it in a way,
Yep.
I guess. So I don't think it's a good thing, but I think it is something that I think we just it's just part of growing up in a way when you're really trying to come into yourself.
And in sitting, so as you mentioned, you do a lot of journaling.
Mhm,
Obviously through journaling, you're able to kind of self-reflect
mhm.
a lot, and I'd argue that's a lot of people kind of do it for or that's part of the reason, anyways. When would you say that you kind of started leaning into more or learning not to judge yourself and be okay with yourself, or is there any other steps outside of journaling that kind of helped you?
Yeah.
Be more self-accepting.
Yeah. Well, I joined also a few different communities online.
Mhm.
And these were like healer communities and like where everyone we were all sort of like minded and we could be all across the world. But we were learning different things like stepping or sort of like what's the word? Learning to use our intuition and like listening to our intuition and understanding that, you know, we're all different. We all learn different ways. We all uh, intuit things different ways, or and that's okay. So I think that's kind of the journey too. Is community can make a huge difference as well.
Mhm.
It doesn't like journaling is great as a self reflection, but then finding a community of like minded people is also very powerful too. And then you can learn from them and take the things that resonate with you, and and you start to put these little tiny pieces together of yourself.
Right, right. No, no, for sure. Um, in your book, so for anyone that wants to pick up the book, and again, the book here, I'll just share it here, is Seeking Alignment.
Yep.
Is there a main theme that how many women? Sorry, you said
There's
17 women.
18 of us.
So is there a main theme that you're really trying to get out there to the public, or a main message?
The main message is just transformation.
Hmm.
Transformation, and that we all go through stuff, and how we came through on the other side.
Right.
Yeah. So every
And
story is completely different, but it's all transformation would be the underlying theme.
okay. And you mentioned that you're really still, like, that journey is still happening for you. The transformation is still happening, the evolution. Do you feel that there's ever an end point, or like, is there a, hey, I've made it, or do you believe it's meant to be just continuous?
I feel like it could be continuous. Like I don't know. I mean, I haven't like I'm only 43, so I haven't reached the age of 80, but maybe at 80 I might feel like, yeah, I think I've done everything I can do, but I really feel like it's a journey. I know women that are, over 60 and they're still like wanting to learn new things, and I feel like through all the different things that you um what am I like all the different things that you pick up and try
Hmm.
and learn. I think you're always continuously learning different aspects of yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you have a good understanding now? Like, how important is purpose to you? In terms of having a life purpose, a life path.
Um, so that is something that I honestly don't put that much focus on per
Hmm.
se. Now,
Okay.
I think it is important, but I feel for myself, what I've had to do over the last few years is to really just let go
Okay.
and just let it happen. Because I felt at a certain point when I was really hyper focused, I'll say, like on what my purpose should be or what my business should be, or, what shoulds, all these shoulds, right? Then it was taking me out of alignment, really. So when I was
Right.
able to just be like, okay, like this is the direction I'm going, then that's the direction that I went. And it just made it so much easier. So um I feel like through my understanding of what I've learned over the last few years is I feel like we do have purposes in our life, but our purposes can change from,
Hmm.
from year to year or whatever. Like, and sometimes our purpose isn't super outward, it's inward. So I remember back in the 90s, Oprah talked a lot about like your life's purpose and following your life's purpose. And I still think that there's um, advantages to that, but there's definitely our purpose isn't always something very large. It can be it's something very small, like um, just finding alignment within. That can be our purpose,
Right.
right?
Right. I loved what you said. Actually, just let go, let it happen.
Yeah.
that, because we do, from a young age, we're taught through our school system, just through, well, I mean, today, social media, just seeing successful people, and we think we have to have this grand plan.
Yeah.
We have to have our shit all figured out.
Yeah.
But you're so right. Once you do let go and just start focusing on what's bringing you, whether it be joy, happiness, or just pleasure each and every day, it's yeah,
Yeah.
amazing things can open up to you, right?
Well,
And oh,
that's
go
why
ahead.
I named my business Live Life Happy too, because
Right.
I had reached that point where it was I wanted to choose happiness every day. So
Yeah.
life happens and not every day is wonderful, but there's always something that you can find that is great. Like it might be just cuddling with your puppy, or you know what I mean? Like there's so live life happy to me doesn't mean that every day's sunshine and perfect and I'm looking
Yeah.
through, colored glasses every single day. It's just an understanding that there's something that there's always some little bit of light. There's always some little bit of joy. Sometimes you have to really look for it if you're going through something really tough.
Hmm.
But yeah, so that's exactly why I named my business that, because at that time, that's exactly was my basically my motto every single day was to choose
Right.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I put your website up here, www.jenmerritt-livelifehappy.com
Yep.
for anybody that
Yep.
does want to reach out. Is your puppy there?
She is sleeping on the bed.
Oh, okay. Won't get to
I
see
thought
her.
she would be sleeping on me, but then I set her down and I don't want to touch her yet.
No, I don't blame you. You also mentioned too about living inwards.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Because I do think we all chase things externally, and we
Mhm.
struggle living inwards. Because inwards can be scary for a lot of people, and part of that is because we're not able to let go, as you mentioned earlier. Because a part of letting go is letting go of the thoughts and the constant waves of emotion and thoughts that go through, and a lot of us kind of hang on to that, so we're scared to go inward sometimes. So what's that mean for you?
And to be honest, there's still days that I struggle with it and I
Hmm.
and I don't want to. Like I
Right.
want to be out in the world and I don't want to go within, but I always feel more at peace with myself when I do.
Right.
So, and a lot of times that can look like um, just getting quiet and either meditating or going for a walk, like being out in nature. It
Hmm.
definitely doesn't include a screen or anything like that. So it could be writing like that. That is a moment to go within as well. Sometimes I'll dance, and I've been doing some uh, like lymphatic drainage exercises in the morning,
Okay.
which if anyone's familiar with like qigong or tai chi, there's their little morning uh, movements, and just those things where I'm not focused externally. I can be focused inward. And at first, if somebody is new, it can be uncomfortable because we kind of shut out our own voice. We shut out our own intuition. We all
Hmm.
have intuition. It's not a crazy psychic thing. It's just we all have our own intuition. We all get a gut feeling. We all have, thought of somebody and then they've called us right after. Like it happens to all of us, but sometimes we're afraid to connect to it. And yeah, it's just we live more outward.
Right. Right. um Going through this journey, setting up your businesses, live life happy, co-collaborating on a book, which I'm sure is very exciting.
Yeah.
What's something that you've learned, about yourself through designing your life, or through seeking alignment, through going through this process?
Um, One thing I'm going to say that I've learned about myself is I feel I'm very resilient.
Mhm.
So I really, even with my business, like I was going to offer like sessions. I started with like Reiki and stuff, and that's was going to be my focus with more service based. And then a friend of mine had suggested I do a market just to kind of like network and talk to people. And I didn't want to have an empty table, so I brought some products with me. A couple essential oils. I think I only had two rollers and a beard oil at that time, just so I wouldn't have an empty table. And and that just sort of took off. So, like, for a few years, like, I was really still trying to focus on, like, offering sessions and pushing like, trying to get sessions
Mhm.
and my products, but the products were, I guess, in a way, like, it just felt more right. Like, it felt like I was trying so hard to do one thing, but I didn't have to try so hard with this, and that was part of,
Right.
like, leaning into, like, what just felt like, just letting go of, like, the expectation of this is how I thought my business was gonna look like, and then lean into, like, well, this is what is actually working, so and that's happened a lot in my life that I would take a course or take training and thinking that I was gonna do this, but then it actually morphed
Mhm.
into this, and that's happened to me my whole life,
What,
and,
because I think that happens to a lot of us,
yeah,
and I'm curious if you're able to understand or tell the difference between what is understanding what your body's telling you that, okay, this may not be the right path and it's time to kind of shift versus it's giving up. Do you are you able
yeah,
to tell the difference?
yeah, I did struggle with that too,
Hmm.
'cause it is hard to know.
Right.
Um, For lack of a better explanation, it's kind of just a feeling,
Hmm.
like, but I have thought about that because I think of, you know, this is gonna sound silly, but like people that like want to be a singer and they go on American Idol and like they think they're amazing, but maybe they're not. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like they have this dream and it's like
Right.
we all have a dream and but I think that I think what it is we have that dream and that's sort of like the beginning of the path, but it's
Right.
following the path the whole way. So like if we stay stuck saying like, no, we need to go straight, we need to keep going straight. But
Hmm.
if we see that there's kind of an opening, there's a possibility for something else, then why not see where that leads, right? So I feel like there's always like sort of a beginning point, and then, but yeah, I've been there. I've been there being like, am I actually giving up or am I following
Right.
what
Right.
feels right?
Yeah. So I think it's important to note that the path is not singular. The path is
Yeah.
not a straight line.
Yep.
Um, and for me, because I've struggled with it, obviously, because e- every time you stop or shift gears, you're like, did I just give up? Like, am I meant to do that? Am I stopping? But what's helped me with that is, I feel the goal is no longer the important thing, and
Yeah.
I've kind of changed my mindset to, it's not about the end goal. As long as I'm in alignment with what's, again, I'll say bringing me joy and happiness. As long as I'm doing what I enjoy to do and I'm happy to wake up every day and do it, then the goal is no longer the end point. Or it's no longer it's not about getting to the end, as we alluded to earlier, more about just enjoying the journey wherever it takes you. And going back to what you said earlier, just letting go,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Letting
I
go of
think
that
we kind
need to
of
succeed.
Yeah, I think we kind of reach a point sometimes where we set expectations of ourselves.
Hmm.
And so I find sometimes that can be more damaging because if we're not reaching it by a certain time or a certain age or whatever it
Right.
is, it's, it can actually send us more into a spiral than just sort of accepting where we are.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What's a piece of advice or a mindset shift, that kind of changed everything for you, or that, yeah, what's something that kind of changed everything for you?
There really has been a lot. I've done a lot of learning over the last few years. I don't know. I think it's really just that letting go aspect.
Hmm.
Um, And I mean, just continuously learning, like, and, learning the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And, like changing your inner dialogue is huge too. So
Right.
I don't know if it's one particular thing, to be honest. Like I feel like it's been a lot of different things that have brought me here. It just kind of it's all just kind of jumbled.
Right. So for anybody out there today that's struggling with, understanding themselves authentically, or maybe struggling with that, stuck in this place where they feel they've given up or they're not going to hit a goal or stuff like that. What's the one message that you would give to somebody that is in that place today?
So what I feel is that when we're stuck, we're not making any changes.
Hmm.
So we're sort of like just continuously, waking up, going to work, doing this, doing that, going to bed, waking up, doing this. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. So when we sort of, um, not in a bad way, but put a wrench into, say, our routine,
Hmm.
right? And switch something up. Maybe it is joining the gym. Maybe it's taking a course. Maybe it's walking on our lunch break, like whatever it is, but just changing it up because we feel stuck because we're doing the same thing on repeat
Right.
over and over and over. So my advice would be to really just try something new, even if it's scary. So if you and we know what it is because we've been thinking about it. Like there is that little inner voice that we've kind of been shutting down. So that inner
Hmm.
voice might have been saying like, I really wish I had a community that I could, talk this over with, or I really wish, I could go to the gym, or I really wish that, someone would walk with me on my lunch break. Like that we have these little things and it's actually um we need to actually start listening to them. And
Right.
that would be my advice is listen to that little voice of the things that have, you've been putting off, and that's what's gonna help you feel unstuck.
Okay. And do you have a favorite quote or mantra or phrase that kind of captures your life philosophy that you keep going back to?
Mine is always and I still really love it, and I can't remember the exact words, but it's, the caterpillar thought life was over until he became a butterfly. I always
Okay.
love that because I feel like there are moments in our life that we really and I've been there, like I've had, moments where I felt really, really down and nothing was going to change or shift. And, so I feel like we have those moments, but then when we get to the other side, that's when it's like, oh, like I've grown from that, like,
Right.
and you change, like you transform. It's a newer and better you.
Awesome. Well, listen, Jen, I appreciate you sharing that. I appreciate you sharing your journey, and your stories and kind of what helps you. And for those listening, I hope there's something there that resonated with everybody. So again, just for anybody that would love to hear one of these 17 women's stories, including Jen's, pick up Seeking Alignment. It is coming out this Wednesday, correct?
Yep.
The
Yep.
19th.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can find that on Amazon. And if you wanted to reach out to Jen directly, live life happy 28 at outlook.com, or again, you can visit her website, www.jenmerritt-livelifehappy.com. Jen, thanks again. Absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much. This is
You're
really fun.
welcome. Awesome. Thanks everybody for listening. Remember, if you love these stories, please follow, subscribe, and share a like. Thanks.